Hey guys, did you miss me? I came here today because I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I've been going through. Um, as you all know, I've been on this content creating journey, and last week, really, I just haven't posted anything in about a week now. Um, because my life has kind of been put into a shock or a pause. And I'm dealing with a lot of different feelings because on January the 10th, I had to put my dog down, my child down, um, my best friend down. And I know a lot of you probably have dealt with this or knows how this feels, but this is actually my first experience going through something like this, and it's kind of been off-putting. Sorry if I'm getting a little uncomfortable. It's because I am uncomfortable, talking about this, and learning how to process or deal with all of this. Um, so just bear with me here. I'm hoping not to cry. That is part of the reason why it has taken me a little bit of time to get back to creating some content. Um, because I didn't know if I would be able to authentically be on camera, um, and get through the content without being able to give my full personality, having signs of being down or blue or this quivering voice that I currently am dealing with as we go through this now. So um, again, bear with me. This is all new for me. I've never gone through this myself, so I'm just learning and sharing as I go. Um, I have a lot of different feelings, emotions, if you will. Some I know I should have, others I'm not quite sure I should have. It's all a very confusing, emotional wave. I guess I should start by telling you guys what was actually going on with my child. He was 13 years old. I got him when he was 6 weeks old. His name is Cider. I can put up a picture for you here. So, yeah, but he was my child of 13 years. I got him when he was 6 weeks old. Um, Even that story, getting him is, I probably shouldn't have got him when I got him. I was in a bad relationship at the time, and I don't even know what possessed me or that guy to be like, oh, let's get a puppy to maybe, I guess, help salvage the relationship or give us something to work towards. But anywho, that's besides the point. I got him, we split up, and Cider remained with me, um, because he was my boy. Yeah, he was my boy. But yeah, he was perfect, if you ask me. He was super duper cute, adorable. He had the littlest paws. He was a miniature dachshund hound. So, wiener dog for all of you who don't know. And yes, I'm sure you're probably all thinking like, oh, the gay guy with the wiener dog. Ha, ha, ha. But yeah, no, he was perfect to me. He started off with like these bluey turquoise eyes, and he was that auburn, the color of like apple cider. And I actually had found him during the fall season, and when I brought him home the very first day, we were all celebrating around the fire with our apple pie shots. So it all kind of made perfect sense. I had not yet named a name. He was that color. It was that season. We were having apple pie shots. So it just all made sense for him to be little apple cider. So cider is what I decided to go with. But yeah, he was perfect. He sat in the palm of my hand when I got him, 6 weeks old, and he went everywhere with me. We were inseparable. But I was lucky too, and I guess not super lucky in the grand scheme of things. In the grand scheme, yes, I was lucky. I had just become a licensed cosmetologist at the time, but I was still in the process of getting my license, the physical license, in order to stay in the salon that I was working in. The salon allowed me to work there before my license had gotten there. For a short period of time before they had to say, well, until you actually have the license, we have to lay you off. And that gave me, I think, 2 solid weeks, maybe 2.5 solid weeks, to stay home with Cider as a new pup, born into the world, so I could potty train him and do all the things. But it really helped us create a bond that was just unstoppable. It was just unstoppable. Like I said, he was perfect. I didn't really have a whole lot of bathroom issues as far as going into the house. He really did learn how to go outside very quickly and where he shouldn't. I did have an issue starting off where he would, chew up things. He had chewed up some cords, he had chewed up some shoes, but we got through that phase pretty quick. But boy, was it cute when he knew he had done something wrong, and he was the quickest little thing, and he would just jet and slide underneath the couch so you couldn't get him if he had done something wrong and didn't want to be reprimanded for it. So yeah, those are the things that I am struggling and thinking about, which are good memories, but they make me extremely, extremely sad. So yeah, but through that time, he again wanted to be around me so bad. I never had to leash Cider. I never had to leash him. He, I think, was afraid of being away from me, to be honest. Like, I think that was a thing that we dealt with. Cause yeah, I would let him out the house and he'd go potty or do his thing, but you better believe he was coming right back next to me. If I even took a quick second in the house, he's waiting at the door like, okay, well, if you're not out here, I'm not out here. So what are we doing? We'd walk down the street together in random neighborhoods, not knowing anyone or the area, and he'd stay right next to me. No leash, no anything. Never ran into the streets, never tried to run off, doesn't chase after, squirrels, raccoons, he was perfection. He was perfection. Yeah. But age happens. Age happens, and unfortunately, not only did age happen for Cider, he had gotten this tumor, and this is one of the things that I really do, I think, beat myself up the most for. About when he turned 11, about 12, he started getting this lump, and I didn't really notice it, to be 100% transparent. And I think that's the thing that probably makes me feel the worst about all of this, is I didn't notice it. It was Steven, my husband, who actually noticed it and brought it to my attention. And by the time it was brought to my attention, it was too late. And not because Steven hadn't mentioned it before, just because he had. It was just me who hadn't really taken it serious. I didn't even realize how large the lump was by the point that I did actually take it serious. And maybe that could have changed things. But he started growing this lump within a year, and it was growing pretty fast. And what had happened is we had taken him to go get seen, and they told us we could, have surgery there. The first doctor did, or the first vet did. But it was going to cost about over $5,000. And at that time, Stephen and I had already signed all these contracts for our wedding, so we didn't really have the funds to have the surgery right away. And the goal was to get, into a stable place, because we were planning this for 2 years, our wedding. We had hoped to get to a stable place to where we could pay for that as quickly as possible once we knew where things were with the wedding. But again, this thing was progressing pretty quickly. So in the time of this happening, we were obviously doing checkups and seeing where he was and how he was physically, making sure that he was able to do his day-to-day activity. His quality of life was still good. And it was fine. He just had this annoying knot that was growing, and it was growing over all of his internal organs. So we didn't know how long this thing would grow, if it would continue to grow, and it was more like just a waiting game. The next vet told us, we could try to get this removed, but it would cost this much, and at this point it looks pretty stable. It hasn't grown much since the last time we saw him, and we'll just keep an eye on it, that type of thing, because we don't know. This could be benign. We could cut into it. It could grow back. There were all these possibilities. What if we even do this? So we were even more hesitant on, having the surgery, and hoping that, again, it's not too bothersome for him. He can still do his things. While it is noticeable, it's fine. He's not in any pain. He's doing okay. He's getting around. His day-to-day life still feels pretty much, for the most part, the same. Well, it started to continue to grow, and things did start to change. We started to notice, different things with his bowels. He wasn't able to hold his bowels, more so. And at first we thought that, oh, this is just, some stomach flu, and it very well could have been a stomach flu. So we took him to the vet, and this time, this was after we hadn't moved. So this was a new vet that we were going to go see, which was good, because we had seen a couple up north in Chicago, and now that we were in the south suburbs, it was nice to get another opinion, just to see where things were, or what our options were, now that we were through the wedding, and we would kind of be able to financially afford this. So we saw the new vet, and we saw him twice as well. And he, from the very beginning, was like, no, I don't think that surgery would be the best idea. And his concern was, if we cut into this, he may bleed out, or because it's right by his internal organs, or overall his internal organs, something could go wrong during the surgery. So he was very pessimistic on, having the surgery, and kind of just letting Cider just live his life until he could no longer live his life. So I knew where things were going. And maybe some of you will think that that gives me time to better prepare for this, or to be ready for the day when this actually happened. And I want to make sure that it's clear, we just got married back in September of 2024, and we're now only in January of 2025. So it's not been a very long time for me to really process all of this, because I thought that he would give me more time than this, I guess. Now, again, during this process, he did have this stomach bug, which the doctor gave me some medication for. And this was while we were right before our honeymoon, we were going through all of this. So again, the wedding, this stomach bug thing happened. Um, so we did that, and it helped with his stomach for a little, to a certain degree, but his bowels were never what we were used to. During that period, he was having multiple accidents in the house because he could not hold his bowels. And I'm sorry if this is getting a little gross, but I don't know how else to explain to you the things that we have gone through in this short period of time. So the medication came around. It did help. He was no longer having accidents within the house, but it was not the same bowel movements that he would be having previously before any of the problems happened. So that was already a thing that started being concerning. And he also had newly started to go to the washroom or urinate, and or at least think that he was urinating. So he would get into position to go and he wouldn't be going, or we'd be outside and he'd go, but now he's going more frequently than he used to. Like, you know how dogs mark their territory? You would think that that's what he's doing, but he's doing it like every just about minute or so. So it started being like, okay, well, is he going? Is he not? But then he started doing this in the house too, where sometimes he would actually go, but then other times he's thinking that he has to go and he's not going. So he's just there pushing, but nothing's actually coming out. So this started happening more frequently. So we started going to the washroom more frequently, taking him out more often so that he can relieve himself if he needed to relieve himself, or even if he was just confused about that. That started becoming a problem. Again, toys and things he no longer would play with. So you try to play with him and he'd go get the toy, but he just wouldn't do anything with it, or he'd go back and lay down. Or even the squeaky toys, you know, they love to just squeak, 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 squeak. No squeaks. So we started noticing those changes, and you start to think like, okay, well, is this what the vet was talking about, the doctor stating that, you know, you just watch for what their quality of life is. Are they enjoying themselves? Do they want to do the things that they normally do, would love to do? How are their bathroom changes? You know, that sort of thing. How are their eating habits? And for the most part, the eating habits were fine up until about, again, September is when we got married. Honeymoon was right after. So he was going through the stomach things right then and there. So I'd say come November, November, beginning of December, we started noticing some eating changes that were going on with Cider too. And he loves to eat. If he doesn't do anything, he loves to eat. I mean, he was like a clock. I still, even today, I not wake up, but it's like my body's also on a time clock too. So like 6 p.m. I know that, oh, Cider's ready to, you know, go outside for his little walk, his little bathroom break, and, you know, we're gonna feed right after his treats and, you know, all the things. So he was like that. If I wasn't, you know, if I was occupied into something else and I didn't know, you better believe his little bell is, you know, coming, and he's sitting there waiting for me like, what are you doing? It's that time. So that stopped. It would be his, you know, last meal for the day, and I'm looking at the clock to go, you know, head out that way. Or I'm not looking at the clock. I'm sorry. I just looked at the clock. It's just, my mind's everywhere, guys. Sorry. But it'd be his last meal for the day. And I say the last meal because his second meal for the day, I'm usually at work and Steven's home with him. So he takes him out and feeds him during that time. But so I don't know all the things that happen. Steven's more paying attention to that. But for dinner time, that's me. So I'd fill his bowl, and usually you can't open the bag. Usually, if it's that time and I start making my footsteps towards that way, he already knows and he's there waiting for me. Like, okay, it's that time, let's go. I can barely put the food in the bowl before he's at the bowl, you know. Um, and that was no more. I'd put the food out, I'd call him, and he'd lift his head up and look at me, and that would be it. Um, I'd call him again, he'd get up sometimes. And if he got up, it didn't necessarily mean that he was walking all the way back there. And that could have been for a couple of reasons. Maybe it was uncomfortable because now this knot has grown to capacity and it's finally getting to the point where it's scraping up against the ground. So it could be uncomfortable. We've seen where it has gotten scabbed and, we heal those things up. And yeah, but it happens now because it's gotten so large. Again, dachshunds, they sit low to the ground, so there's not a lot of space for a lump to grow. And this lump had gotten big. And I'll show you a video of how this ended, how he was appearing, on the final day before ultimately making the decision. But yeah, he wouldn't come, he wouldn't move, he would hear it, and I know that he hasn't eaten for a few hours now, and he again loves to eat, so he's usually there, but he wasn't always there. And sometimes I didn't even notice it until the next day. I'd get up for our morning routine, let him out, feed him and all the things, and I can't because there's still food in his bowl, and it's like, oh, huh. So many things were changing here in the end. And again, it could have been because he's 13 now, going on 14, would have been 14 this July, July 31st. And that's a good age for a dog. But it also could have been the lump that I did not notice, the lump that I, dare I say, neglected. In my predicament. So now I am battling and struggling with the decision I made, and talking to the doctor on the day, him checking him out. Cider had also started now. We thought that he was just bleeding because maybe he had scraped the lump on the final day before taking him in. But that wasn't the case. He had went to the bathroom that morning and came in the house, and there was just droplets of blood everywhere, and not just faint droplets of blood, like blood, as if it was nothing but blood, and this was coming from his urethra. So he had urinated, and now his genitals are bleeding, which to me is more red flag. So now he didn't want to get up to even get up that morning. It took me about 8 attempts to get him out of his bed, which is was here in our bedroom. And I'm not going to show you where, because some of you who watch my videos knows that he's typically behind me here. And I'm constantly triggered. Every single time I get up. Every single time I walk into my bedroom, I'm triggered. It's just a blank space, and I don't know what to do, whether I fill that with something else or if I just leave it bare, as now I don't have his bed there anymore. So, yeah, but I couldn't get him up that morning. It took about 8 attempts to get him to want to even come out to use the washroom, and he usually has to go in the mornings. He walked down the hall just a little bit, or he hopped out of the bed and couldn't hold it, so he urinated right in front of his bed, walked down the hall, attempted to urinate, but nothing came out. And then we finally made it outside where he, did his business. Um, when he came back in the house, he laid up against our wall, which again, I'll put the clip up here for you to see. And his body was trembling and he was panting, and he didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to eat. He didn't want to move. He didn't want to do anything. Again, it took a lot to just get him outside. And then there was the blood. And by the time he did finally get up and move again, he was urinating again, and there was blood in his urine at that point. So we got him an appointment immediately to the vet, and we went in and talked to the doctor about it, and he checked him out, and it was pretty much the same conversation. And this time, while it was the same conversation, the twist was I think that today is the time. Today is it's that, or you just keep him around for when you're ready, is essentially what I was told. But just know that cider would probably be uncomfortable for the next however many days you need to prepare yourself. So I ultimately decided to say my goodbyes. And it was hard. It was really hard. The only thing I can say was that it was nice to see him in peace for just one moment. And I don't mean when he finally closed his eyes. There was a point, like when there's a 2-shot injection that happens here. They use one shot to relax him, and that's the shot that I'm talking about. So again, Cider couldn't barely get out of his bed at this point, so they allowed him to just lay in his bed. But because he was so uncomfortable all the time, because of the lump, he never really looked. He constantly fiddled to make himself comfortable or get comfortable. And it was nice for that first shot to go in, where he was relaxed and, stretched out. And I could see the relief in his face, like, and that was nice, but hard. And then the next shot was to stop. So I'm here with a lot of different feelings, with a lot of different emotions. I don't know how to get back to feeling like normal, because what I feel like is I don't feel deep down in the dumps, if you will, like depressed, I can't move or anything like that, but I do feel this lack of joy, if you will. Like I feel like an example, I've not done anything for myself in this week. It's been a week as of yesterday, a solid full week. And my husband has had a birthday. I wore no makeup, did no skincare, and that's what I do. I had the opportunity to get dressed up, and I wore what we wore for breakfast, and I had been in all day, just because I didn't feel, because I don't feel like myself, I suppose. Like I don't know. I just feel like something's missing, something's off, something's different. So I'm having a hard time, and today is the first day that I've been able to get on camera, and I'm supposed to do other videos too today, just to get back into the groove of thing. And I feel like I needed to start here. So that's what I'm doing, and I will continue to share what this is like for me. I don't know how to get out of it. Maybe some of you do, but I just want to feel regular. And right now I don't. And I know 13 years is a long part of my life, a long constant, a long relationship. So I know it's not going to go away right away, but I do want to figure out how to get back to me and still love cider as I do. So until next time, guys, bye.